Sweat was a pretty good lineup. Didn't do as well on Sunday, the other guys, but it's just wild how much you need to go your way to take down like the huge GPPs. But picks were pretty good, and it was just, I mean, DFS sweat notwithstanding, it was just a fun tournament. Watching that play out was about as good probably as they could have hoped for with the way that leaderboard shook out. And you know, everybody was talking about Bryson and Rory, obviously, but Cantlay and Finau weren't too far behind there if they would have both slipped up a little bit there at the end. So it was great drama, great entertainment. You know, there'll be debate over, you know, whether Bryson's shot was a top 5 shot or a top 10 shot or the best shot for a long time, I think. But it was really cool when Johnson Wagner tried to recreate it on the Golf Channel afterwards, and then Bryson came out of nowhere, and then he knocked it right there as well. So yeah, it was you couldn't ask for much more out of the week of golf, I think.
Yeah, I mean, complete 180 from Bryson compared to like 5 years ago when he was one of the more hated guys on tour. Now he's man of the people. After every tee box, he's out there dapping everybody up. Yeah, it's just pretty cool. He just seems so happy and just you know, living himself. And my favorite was tries to throw the ball into the crowd, doesn't even come close, and then he says, "Everyone here is going to touch the trophy." And I don't know how that would have worked, but yeah, he was out there running around, letting everybody touch it. He was on the Fallon show with the trophy. He was hitting glow-in-the-dark balls on one of the live Twitch or something last night, saying he was drunk and just hitting balls as far as he could. I mean, he's just he's turned into one of the more likable guys on the PGA Tour. So happy for Bryson. Definitely one of the most clutch shots on the 18th hole of a major for sure. And the crazy part is, I mean, he was dead last in the field in fairways hit on Sunday, just consistently in the waist areas and just managing to get up and down from everywhere. Pretty crazy. And then, you know, obviously Rory, all the memes of him at the table looking sad. A lot of fun Twitter had with that. And man, that putt on 18, it broke, I don't know, like a foot. That was crazy.
Yeah, that one. And there's a couple thoughts on this. So the first one, before I forget, with Bryson, everyone was like, "Well, that's U.S. Open rough should be more penal than that because Bryson shouldn't be able to scramble." And you know, let's not take away from the fact that it's not like he was getting, you know, hitting it to 10 feet from rough every time. He scrambled like, you know, nobody else would have been able to scramble like that. So it's not that the rough wasn't penalizing enough. It was just that he made fantastic shot after fantastic shot to save par on those holes when he was out of position. So, and if you take, you know, the way, as you mentioned, the way that he's become so likable, and I tweeted this the other night as well. If you would have told people a year ago that Bryson was going to become, you know, the most likable guy and people were going to be ripping Rory for, you know, ducking out in his Lexus right after the tournament ends and people are going to be hating on him, people would have thought you were crazy. So it's just, it's wild how quickly things turn. And I think part of this is that, you know, we don't see all these guys together, but for 3 or 4 times a year now. You know, before the Live Tour existed, you know, maybe this has added some appeal to the majors since then. You know, it's just I don't know, so many interesting storylines, and yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah, you mentioned Finau. I mean, ended up being 2 shots shy, and on Saturday on 13, man, he made a mess of that one. He was right in front of the green, ended up putting it over the green, and then made a mess from there. Ended up having a triple bogey when probably decent chance he should have saved par or bogey. But I mean, I'm sure a lot of golfers have shots like that throughout the week that they could take back. As impressive performance from Matthew Pavon. I didn't see that coming. He hadn't been playing very good. Xander, another top 10 at a major. I was pretty high on Henley, so it was good seeing him play well. And yeah, it was just a lot of fun. Even Tiger almost made the cut. I was pretty impressed by that. Were you for the sweat cut? Were you rooting for the +5s to get through? Because I think the 6-6 would have been real low if it didn't get.
Yeah, so it was tough. So at that time, I had like 4 top 10 guys and a couple that were right around 20th, and I knew that was probably my only real lineup with a sweat. but I had in my player pool, I did like 30 lineups, I think. In my player pool, I had a couple of the guys that were there at +5. So I didn't really know. I was kind of, at the time, I didn't really care because I didn't know which was, I didn't obviously didn't run the numbers to see which one was more expected value at the time. But yeah, I think I was kind of hoping it didn't, because I knew that my one lineup with a real shot didn't have anybody that was on that +5 number. And I was hoping that the 6 of 6 would be real low, but it's not like it's a birdie fest anyway, to where, you got to have 6 guys making birdies. One of my guys didn't even make a birdie on Saturday at all. So yeah, I was kind of rooting for it not to drop, mainly so Scheffler would finally miss a cut. But yeah, I didn't have a strong take. It was pretty neutral for me, probably where I ended up. So
I was going to say, speaking of not making birdies, Scotty Scheffler, 4 birdies all week. That is a pretty crazy stat. He was fine tee to green. I think he ended up 6th or 7th in tee to green and just couldn't make any putts. So interested to see if that has any carry over to this week. Yeah, he just didn't look happy at all at any point last week.
Yeah, those U.S. Opens can really frustrate guys, and you just got to try to not let the round get away from you, or it's easy to shoot an 80, and then you're pretty much ziplining yourself right out of contention. And yeah, Scheffler just couldn't get anything to drop. Ended up squeaking through the cut, but never really threatened. At one point, like on Friday, I looked. It was, he was still on his 2nd or 3rd hole on Friday, but he was like 8 shots back at the time or whatever. And he was still like the 4th favorite to win at the time, 8 shots back on a Friday in like T60 at the time or whatever he was. And like, man, this guy is still +600 or +800 or whatever it was, despite being that far back. So I think the books are scared, obviously, to hang a number that people are going to hammer with the way he's been playing. But it was noteworthy at the time. So
here's a question for you: does Rory McIlroy win another major?
I mean, he's been so close so many times that you got to think yes, but it's enough time passes that you probably asked me that question 3 years ago and I gave you the same answer. It's not like the game is off, right? If he makes 2 putts, he wins the tournament. And I'm not gonna fault him for the one on 18. That was a tough putt, even though it was only 3.5 feet or whatever it was. But the earlier one is probably the one he regrets a little bit more. That one wasn't that difficult of a putt on 15 or 16, whichever one that was. But I mean, obviously his game is still elite. Just he's got to avoid those hiccups that seem to plague him. One thing here or there every time.
Crazy, it's been 10 years, and it's just going to get harder and harder. He's had his heart ripped out by Bryson and Cam Smith at the Open, too, with some incredible up and downs. So, yeah, I mean, I want Rory to bounce back, but obviously had to withdraw, take some time away. No surprise when that news came out.
Yeah, for sure. We would have had a really interesting discussion about what to do with him this week. Now we don't have to have that discussion as he has withdrawn. I believe we have 71 in the field this week. And I got to tell you, I'm kind of over this limited field, no cut or small cut, always coming like right before or right after a major. I don't know. I didn't really have a strong opinion on it heading into the season, but I think I've landed on I don't really like it.
I hated it right when they announced it. It's just a WGC event. They got rid of the WGCs to bring us more WGCs. Makes no sense to me. And then to put it one before and after a major also makes no sense to me. These guys are all going to be playing 3 weeks in a row and coming off of 2 of the toughest courses that they played all year. So got to think, some of these guys are tired. Fatigue's going to set in. So, yeah, I don't like the no-cut events. I don't like limited field's fine. Just put it at 100. Do a usual top 60, and it'll be great.
Yeah, for sure. That'd be better than what we've got. Anyway, old man yells at cloud, I guess, for us complaining about it. We've all got to deal with it. But we've got, I believe, 71 left in the field now that Rory has withdrawn. No replacement for him. So 71 in the field. And I got, by the way, I got an email this afternoon from the John Deere Classic. Jordan Spieth and Patrick Cantlay are both playing in the JDC this year. So they're the John Deere here in a few weeks. They're trying to elevate their game.
They are in desperate need of a win, I guess.
Cantlay may withdraw after he had a good week last week. He might decide he doesn't need it anymore. But anyway, that just reminded me of that when we were talking about these weaker events versus the stronger ones. All right, let's turn to the task at hand. Travelers Championship, elevated event. So as I mentioned, this used to be a full field event, but we've only got 71 this week. Some of these limited field events have had a top 50 in ties cut. This one does not. So it's 4 rounds for everybody unless they withdraw. TPC River Highlands has hosted this event for a while and has been more scoreable in recent years. Keegan Bradley set the tournament record last year. I believe he got to 23 under par. So definitely we'll see more birdies than what we saw last couple of weeks with some tougher events. But why don't you tell the people what we've got for a course this week?
Yeah, before we do that, was this a designated event last year? Because it looks like almost everyone in the field played it. So it must have been.
I think it was like one of the first ones, but I don't know if it was just a 70.
I think it was a full field because there's missed cuts in here.
But it might have been like one of those when they were just trying it out where they did 75 or 100. I'm going to try.
So like Horschel was 134th. Hughes was 153.
Well, then it was full field then. But I think they might have done it as an elevated event, but it was still a full field. That's what it looks like.
All right.
Too many changes over the last couple of years to keep track of what.
I know. TPC River Highlands in Connecticut, one of the shorter courses on the PGA Tour, par 70, under 6,900 yards. Typically one of the top 20 easiest courses on tour. Last year was one of the easier courses on tour, probably because the field was elevated. Nice mix of winners, I would say. We've had like Dustin Johnson, Ches Reavie, Xander, Harris English, Keegan Bradley. So any type of golfer can contend here. A lot of that has to do with the length of the course. A lot of that has to do with the fact that the fairways narrow as you get closer to the hole. So like 250 yards out, they're really wide. 300 yards out, they narrow like 10 yards. So definitely we'll see a mix of aggressiveness off the tee. You can lay back if you want. But we've seen guys like Bubba and Dustin, just hit a lot of drivers here too. Greens here are small, very easy to hit on average despite their size. I think the field hit 73% of the greens last year. So I'm not looking at around the green much this week. I'm kind of looking for total driving, shows green approach, birdie better, maybe a little course history. I did see the Data Golf. Their importance of course history is actually pretty high here compared to most PGA Tour stops. So guys that play well here tend to keep playing well here, like Brian Harmon, my guy, who we'll get to. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the course. I think a lot of it's just going to be, who is motivated this week, which is going to be hard to tell.
Yeah, we talk about that a lot in these, tough to tell who's going to be at their A game or, who's going to be off a little bit the week after a major. You can turn yourself around in circles trying to figure it out. But that tends to be a fool's errand and trying to peg that with any certainty. So I'm just going to forge ahead. Obviously, we don't have Rory. Probably would have not played him even if he decided to tee it up after the way last week finished. But otherwise, if they're there, elevated event, more prize money at stake. If they're teeing it up, got to presume they're going to give it their best. So we do have Scheffler in the field this week. Maybe not quite as expensive as he's been sometimes over the past couple months, but will be interesting to see how people handle him after his first kind of bad week in like a year. He's 12.5, Schauffele at 11.2, and Oberg at 10.2. So a pretty good price distance between all three of the guys that are above 10K. It's not like they're bunched together at the same salary. How are you handling them? And then does the, no cut event change your thought process here?
It usually does. I usually am more willing to just take the top guys, take some chances on the cheaper guys. But two factors here. Scotty Scheffler in a birdie fest where you have to make a lot of putts worries me a little bit. Doesn't mean you can't come and finish, top 5 or even win with the great tee to green performance. But also the 6Ks, man, they're pretty ugly. I don't really want to play anybody down there. Well, we'll get to that in a little bit. And for the first time in a long time, Scheffler and Xander basically projected the same in my model. Xander's a better putter. Xander has a better course history. Over the last 4 events, Xander has, better average finish. So I think I prefer the savings, and it looks like he's going to be a little lower owned as well, at least early in the week. So I like Xander quite a bit. Ludwig, no issue with him. This is one of the few courses, he's starting to see second time around, which is always nice. He was T24 here last year. But yeah, I'm going to plug my nose, be underweight on Scheffler. What are you doing?
So I basically have hit the last 3 weeks pretty good with the Scheffler. I said I was going to stop overthinking it and just play Scheffler. And that's what I did the 2 weeks before the major. Didn't play him last week just because, there were so many options. I was playing the Millie Maker, the higher variance GPPs that, guy 40% owned. I just fade Scheffler and take my chances. Played a lot of Bryson, played some Rory, played some Oberg. So I didn't play Scheffler last week. So now 1 week off, I think people are just kind of going to be overthinking this a little bit. He was like 50% owned the last time in this limited field event. I mean, it's one bad week out of like a year. I'm convinced that he's still a robot despite one bad week. So yeah, I'm just going to play Scheffler again. Like, I think part of it is I like the lower end value guys, maybe a little bit more than you do. I'm not sitting here saying that I think there's 15 guys in the 6Ks that are just these great plays, but I think there's enough down there to make Scheffler work. It's a no-cut event. Somebody from down there is going to have a good week. If Scheffler wins, you're probably going to need him, and it's just a matter of finding the right guy in that 6K range. I've got a couple that I think are at least, worth plugging into some builds and rolling with it. So not that I don't like the other guys. I'm just going to go back to Scheffler at what should be at least lower ownership than where he's been the past month. And generally speaking, it has worked out for people that have just kind of blindly played him throughout. So am I a little worried about him after not making anything last week? Yeah, a little bit, but he's going to remind everyone soon enough that he's Scotty Scheffler. So I think I'm sticking with Scheffler this week.
I'm hoping Pinehurst just broke him. He becomes like the 100th best player in the world, and
becomes Francesco Molinari after the Masters.
Oh, that would be great. Although it wasn't in contention, but all great points. He's probably going to bounce back. I just don't think he's going to make enough putts to win, but he does. He's been really good with the putter lately. So, one of us is going to have a good week, and that'll be great for the show next week.
That's right. Will be interesting to see how that plays out. I think definitely a few different schools of thought on how you want to handle Scheffler this week. We'll find out. So anyway, that's the top guy. They're all fine. I mean, if you aren't playing Scheffler, getting exposure to either one of the other guys above 10K is perfectly fine as well. Or you can go with a more balanced approach. I mean, plenty of talent in the 9Ks. We've been playing Morikawa for quite a while now. He just keeps on humming along. Couldn't quite put the 4 rounds together last week, but still continues to play well. Cantlay coming off that T3 finish. You've got Hovland, Matsuyama, maybe more of a wild card in the 9Ks, Fleetwood and Burns rounding it out. I like Cantlay. I think, coming off a strong finish, T3 didn't really make a whole lot of mistakes, and coming to a course where he's just been fantastic here. Nobody's really wanted to play Cantlay all year for the most part, and that kind of includes myself. I haven't played him a whole lot, but after what we saw last week, and then he's, plays the same course as well, and he's just kind of been a force here every time he tees it up. So Cantlay is my favorite in the 9Ks this week. Who do you like?
Yeah, we're just not going to agree on anything this week.
I know. I could tell from the content that we had a few disagreements, mainly at the top.
Which makes for better content. Honestly, I tried with Cantlay at Memorial, burned me. He was almost dead last at a course he loves. Didn't play him last week, burned me again. And I still have nightmares about this course, 2022. He had a lead going into the final round, and he just absolutely imploded. He was playing with Xander. I remember a par 3, he hit it like 60 yards into the middle of the lake. He was like 100 yards short of the hole. Right now I just can't get burned again. My heart's not ready for it. So I will go to Morikawa. You mentioned his great play. He's gained across the board in 3 straight starts. He hasn't finished worse than T16 in 7 straight starts. Got to think it's a pretty good course for him too. Accuracy, irons, and the putter's been real hot lately. So I like Morikawa. I like Hovland quite a bit. If you look at last week, so everyone's kind of going to be off of him, but he missed the cut on the number. He gained strokes off the tee, gained strokes on approach, gained strokes putting. He just lost 4 around the green. and nearly put together a good enough Friday to make the cut. He's played pretty well here in the past. And again, around the greens is not that important this week because guys are going to be hitting 80% of greens in regulation. So I think he's sneaky at 93. Hideki's been solid. I think Fleetwood, if he's going to be under 10%, I think that's pretty interesting given his form. So yeah, I think the 9Ks are pretty interesting. And I do think I'm going to build more balanced builds than the field this week.
So there's only one guy with more total strokes gained at this course over the last 5 years on the field than Brian Harman, and that's Cantlay. So I know you like Harman. But Cantlay, man, he's 5 straight top 15s here. I know that collapse in 2022 is rough. I know he's not your best friend right now.
I mean, at Memorial, he had even better course history.
Yeah. Well, that's not. So that certainly isn't going to happen twice. It's not going to happen twice. We'll see.
I honestly thought about betting him because I like the number, and I ended up going with Hovland instead. So we'll see if that ends up being a bad decision.
It's going to be Hovland and Cantlay in a playoff. That'll be fun. All right, better hedge if that happens, so you don't get burned again. Get one way or another.
This will be the Sunday he just flushes it anyway.
All right. That's where most of, and again, I could tell because I kind of looked at some of Noto's stuff in our expert survey and stuff. He had his done before me. So I could tell we were going to have some differences at the top this week, and that's okay. We'll make amends a little bit more on some of the other guys, particularly in the mid-range here. As we go into the 8Ks, I mentioned Cantlay being the leader in strokes gained here over the last 5 years. Brian Harman is second. He's 8,300 this week. Keegan Bradley's the defending champ, has pretty good course history as well. Always tends to play well in the Northeast. Those are kind of the headliner course history guys in the 8Ks. You also got Tigala, Finau, Justin Thomas, Corey Connors in here. And nobody's really talking about it because it's not like he finished that well, but pretty impressive for Tigala to come back and make the cut last week after a 7 over in his first round, battled through to make the cut. So pretty good options again in the 8Ks. You got Spieth, Tom Kim, Fitzpatrick in here as well. What do you like in the 8Ks?
Yeah, so Tigala is one of the guys in my good graces. I had him in a top 40 parlay, ended up coming through with a nice weekend. And he, in that same Cantlay year, he probably should have won here. If you remember, he had the lead going into 18, drove it into the bunker, and it was right up against the lip. So I like Tigala. He's been really good ball striking this year. He's been a really good putter. I like Russell Henley. For whatever reason, our ownership projections just have him really low every week at the start. I think he's going to be one of the more popular guys in the field because he's been on fire lately, coming off of a top 10 at the U.S. Open, 4 top 20s here in his last 6 starts, and he's like the perfect short course, fairways, good irons, good putter. So I think he's going to be popular, but I do like Henley. You mentioned Brian Harman. He's finished T8 or better in 6 of his last 9 starts here. It's just his happy place. The irons have been pretty good lately too. He's gained over 10 strokes on approach in his last 5. I'll play some Corey Connors. He's probably a top 3 ball striker in the field, and he's gained around the green in 3 straight. He's gained putting in 2 of the last 3. So maybe he's turning the corner with the short game. And that's kind of why we've seen a couple top 10s after not having any top 10s prior to that this year. So I really like the 8s. I could also get talked into Tom Kim. He's been playing a lot better lately. He's another guy that hits a ton of fairways, good iron player. So I'm going to be probably overweight on most of the guys I've talked about.
Yeah, it fits that balanced approach as well. If you're not going as high on Scheffler at the top, Harman is my favorite as well. So no disagreement there. And I have no issue getting to Henley, Connors, most of those guys in that 8Ks. Probably going to pass on Fitzpatrick. He's tailed a bit. He did make the cut last week, but then was absolutely nothing on the weekend. So I think I'm out on him for now. He's got a missed cut and a 49th on this course as well. So Fitzpatrick, probably the one guy I'm okay taking a pass on this week. But the other guys in the 8K range, I think, are pretty strong.
Oh, Spieth? You like Spieth?
No, nah.
Yeah.
Spieth's got to show. Maybe the John Deere Classic will get him going into heading into the Open, and then that time maybe he'll be somewhat interesting, but passing until then.
My friend had
that's
me place a miscut parlay last week with Hovland, DJ, and Spieth, and Spieth was the one that wrecked
no,
it would have been a pretty good payout too.
Yeah, those miscut ones are definitely you get a little more plus odds on those. All right, as we head into the 7Ks, some interesting names here. Sepp Straka was a popular value last week. Shane Lowry's been playing a little bit better lately. Surprised to see Max Homa all the way down at 7,800. Always, I think you can make a case for him in tournaments at that price, though he has missed the cut the last 4 times he's played here. Adam Scott, Wyndham Clark, Benny On, another disappointment last week. Seabez in the 7K range. Not a lot of guys with good course history down here. Maybe that's why they're priced so low. But certainly guys that, we've seen at least upside at times in the past. I certainly wouldn't play Homa in cash games, but I think the GPP discussion is interesting. Benny On's probably going to be one of the more popular guys in here. Just seems underpriced with his ball striking at 7,600. But what are some of your thoughts on the 7K range?
Yeah, strictly from a talent perspective, Max Homa and Wyndham Clark, like both under 8K, that is, we don't see that very often. Don't have a ton of interest in either. I can certainly see playing them in tournaments. Both of them have, top 10 upside. Clark's been awesome in all of the designated events this year. Well, most of them. I think Sung Jae's interesting after disappointing last week. Prior to that, he had finished 8th, 9th, and 4th in his 5 previous starts. So he's got decent course history. I do like Siwoo Kim at 7,500. His tee to green game has just been so good all year, and I think that makes a lot of sense here. The putter has been a little bit cold, and course history has been bad, but did have a T11 here in 2020, and he's just a different player now than he's ever been, I think, in his career.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen in past years, I mean, we never saw any consistency out of him. And now he's finally started to show that consistency, not missing cuts, not, finishing dead last sometimes just randomly. So I don't mind Siwoo Kim at 7,500. Like I said, you're not getting a lot of course history down here with any of these guys, but Seabez, Zuidenhout, another guy that's been playing better golf this year. Poston, I think you could consider as well, was runner-up here a couple years ago. Zalatoris all the way down at 7,100 seems strange. Dietrich was in the mix last week for a while before he faded a bit on the weekend. So, again, I think there's enough value guys down here, particularly if you're playing Scheffler. You're probably going to have to get somebody, maybe somebody in the 6s as well. And as we kind of head down into there, I'll mention a couple guys that I like, but I know you don't like a whole lot else at the bottom. Is there anybody you do like at the tail end of things this week?
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably not going too far under 7,500 this week, at least for my main couple lineups.
How does Webb Simpson keep making all these events?
Webb Simpson, you better be careful. I talked about Brandt Snedeker that one week and heard it from the chat. And Snedeker finished like dead last that week too, so I don't feel bad. I like JT Poston a little bit. He's been good. He's always in play on these shorter courses. Billy Horschel just continues to make cuts. Your boy. I do like Seabez. He's a good iron putter guy. If he can just hit fairways, I think he'll be fine. After that, I don't know. I mean, Hoagie's got the irons that we're looking for. Zalatoris is cheap, but he's been really bad. Mr. Gerg in the chat is asking if I've ever been to Skinwalker Ranch. I'm not sure if that's a place or like a movie reference. So let me know, Mr. Gerg.
So I like a few guys down here. I think Hoagie's okay. I'm going to go to Pavone, man. I was impressed with that guy. And his logs this year, right? Remember, was it back in March or April? I don't know, sometime he won a tournament. Then he got third, and then he was popular. Then he missed a bunch of cuts. And then, last week he pops for a top 5. And, a lot of his results have come. The one was the Farmers. And then last week in these stronger field events, he's only 6,800. He does tend to be boom or bust, but at least you're getting 4 rounds this week, barring an injury or illness or something. So 6,800, he's a perfect kind of back end to a lot of my Scheffler lineups. I think Eckroat is okay as well at 6,800. He's got a couple made cuts here the last 2 times he's played. So those are a couple guys in the 6s. I'm probably not going to go, super deep to like Cam Davis or Putnam or somebody like that, but I could certainly see the case for it in a no-cut event. I mean, somebody from down in these sixes is going to have like a top 15. And if Scheffler wins the tournament, that's going to be the combo you need. You're going to need Scheffler, and you're going to need, the one or two guys maybe at that 7K-ish mark that are the right combo with them. Pavone is my favorite. Just continue to be impressed by his performance kind of on the bigger stages. So I was slow to buy into him, but I'm going to flag plant there a little bit this week. So anybody else or anything else for you before we pivot to maybe doing a snake draft?
I mean, I don't know why I had to do a drive-by on my favorite 6K guy and Andrew Putnam. But
Who's a head nod?
I probably won't play anybody down here. I mean, Putnam's just like a safe guy. He's probably not has enough upside for tournaments. But if you need like a cheap cash guy, I think he's interesting just because he's been good here. And yeah, I'm just not touching the six as much. All right, so Mr. Gerg, it's a creepy ranch in Utah with all the cattle mutilations and strange phenomena. It's a whole series on the History Channel. So I have not been there, and I don't plan to go there after reading that.
That sounds creepy to me. I'll pass. All right. Well, with that, we'll go ahead and pivot to our snake draft portion of the show. Of course, if you want to exit, feel free to do so if you're not interested in going through the discussion of the snake draft. Before you do that, though, make sure you check us out, RotoGrinders.com. If you are not a premium subscriber, tons of good stuff. I know that, NHL and NBA are winding down, but still plenty of season to go in golf, and football will be here before you know it. Baseball, of course, is still going full steam ahead as well. Get yourself some deals on a premium subscription. You can check out the links that Steve will post one in the chat for you if you are interested in that. And then be sure to hit that thumbs up button if you're checking us out on YouTube. Appreciate that a lot. You can subscribe and know whenever we go live on any of the DFS sports. So thanks for watching. As always, if you are hopping off, if you're sticking around for the snake draft, we will find one of those now. Looks like there's a $5. That's 2 of 6. We are probably just going to have to jump into that one this week, I would imagine. So I will make it 3 of 6, and then hopefully Noto will get in there as well.
Speaking of the snake draft, we need better performance from our viewers. Me and Axis took first and second last week.
Roar G domination. All right, so I will share my tab. Hopefully when that fills, one more spot to go, and we will get this rolling. All right. Looks like we're filled up. Oh, and we're picking one too.
Oh, that never
dare
happens.
you to take Schauffele.
Of course I gotta take Scheffler. This will be my only Scheffler exposure.
Fine, I'll take Xander, and then we'll switch up our normal.
Although it worked last week. Last week I was like, that's my only Rory exposure, so I guess it worked.
I got too many things open here. Close some of those out so it doesn't glitch on me. Don't notice a lot of our regulars in here this week. D Rich has been on quite a bit. Welcome to any new faces.
Got a 1 week season. It's JM to win. Like, if you remember him.
Yep. Oh yeah. And JM wrote a bunch of NFL stuff for us over at RotoGrinders in the past. Good guy. All right, so we'll get rolling here in about 30 seconds, and we'll end up taking most of the top guys in the field here in this 42 out of the 71 golfers.
We didn't talk about Finau at all. Do you like him?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a strong take. I think if the ownership is down, he's a guy that has been a lot more consistently. You look at that log, 18th, 17th, 8th, and 3rd the last 4 events. seems like he's kind of getting lost in the shuffle this week a little bit in that price range, so I'm fine with him. All right, so Noto and I swap up our. Noto likes Schauffele this week, and I like Scheffler, and we took them opposite. Don't let that fool you.
I'm probably not playing either, to be honest. In my main
You're just going that full on balance this week, then.
Yeah. All right. Question from Dave Runner. Is it too early to be firing random sim labs? Should I wait till it's closer to the event? I would, but you can still play around with it. Any thoughts?
Yeah. I usually wait till Wednesdays to run those. We're kind of constantly updating and tinkering those projections, and usually once you get to later in the day on Wednesday is a pretty good time that you can do that pretty comfortably. So.
Yeah, and so much is based on ownership that it's going to change your outputs a lot.
Yeah. I'm a fan of when Mr. Heels gets in these drafts because he's always on auto pick, but it lets you take, as we determined last time, it lets you take the 30 seconds all the way up until like the last round, and then it finally puts you on auto draft. So gonna eat up the 30 seconds each time. Makes me have to try to fill more dead air time. Or we just have the dead air time. Waiting to see who he picks. I mean
to look this up. When's the last time Hideki played 3 events in a row? It has to have been
Surely
a while.
It's been a while.
I'll look it up. Should be in the first look.
Be right here. 2-1, 2-8, and 2-15.
Good
so
4 months.
February. And he won the third one.
Oh, he played
last time he played 3 weeks in a row, he won the third event. Sold. He may withdraw. You never know. It's the wheel of Hideki.
Yeah, didn't he draw withdraw the last signature event or 2 signature events ago?
I can't remember if that was that or the week before that. I don't know for sure.
I guess it wasn't Memorial, but the one before that.
That was my turn.
All right, there you go. Get Hideki.
Complaining about other people being slow.
Oh, passed on Hideki. Who'd you get?
I took Harman because I figured
I like it. Is Henley gone already?
Yeah, he went 6th.
Yeah, he's going to be a lot more popular than 7% we have right now. All right. Team no putt. Scheffler, Hideki, and Connors.
I don't have a strong take on Fleetwood, but if he's there at 14, I'll just take him. All right, so we're in kind of the middle of the third round here. Red Sox 024 has Oberg, Finau, and Keegan to start. So you gotta wonder what the fields are going to be like for the next. There's one more event before the John Deere Classic. What's next week? Well, the Rocket Mortgage. Ain't nobody playing in Detroit next week.
Then the John Deere the same week as Scottish, right?
No, the Scottish is the week after.
Oh,
John Deere's by itself.
So we got 3 more weeks.
Yeah.
Till the Open.
Yep. Yeah, so it's Rocket Mortgage, John Deere, then the Scottish, then the Open Championship. John Deere always used to be the week before the Open, but maybe that's why they're getting more guys to play it.
Yeah, it deserves its time in the sun.
That's right. Yeah.
Imagine if it was a signature event. That'd be cool.
Starts on the 4th of July. I mean, they got good stuff going for them this year. They got Cantlay and Spieth coming to town. I'll have to go. The last couple of years I haven't gone because it's been a bazillion degrees and nobody's been playing there.
Tom Kim. I was going to take him.
All right, let's see. I will go with I wrote up Lowry, so I suppose I better take him.
Sungjae. Yeah, what happened to Cam Young? He's been so bad.
I don't know. I also don't know. Apologize for I usually mute my phone and I didn't, and it's dinging every time I'm up to pick. So hang on a second. I'm gonna mute my phone. All right, and I will go with Benny on here. Got that one. Just got it shut off just before the ding.
Your Cardinals are in a barn burner. 7-7.
Yeah, it's been distracting me. They've blown a 7-4 lead. It's now 7-7. They can never make it easy. Look, they're in a wild card spot right now. They're 36 and 35. They've been playing pretty well. They have won one game all season by more than 4 runs. So they've had like no blowouts. Their closer has like 24 saves because everything is close. But anyway, you take the wins any way you can get them, I guess.
They're like
one of the games when we were down there. I bought these tickets a long time ago. I mean, we had kind of planned the dates we were going to go down there, but lucked into getting to see Paul Skeens pitch against the Cardinals. So that was kind of fun.
Yeah, that's sweet. So they're like the Vikings from 2 years ago, just winning all the close
every
games.
game is close. Every game is competitive. And last night's game was like 12 innings, and it started at like 5 o'clock or something, and the kids were like swimming. I'm like, all right, we'll wait and eat supper like after the game's over. And so then they're starting to get hungry. It's like the 9th inning. I'm like, I'll go as the game's over. And then they ended up playing 12 innings, and we ate dinner at like 9 o'clock. Hopefully that doesn't happen tonight.
We might need to find some empty drafts next week. I think a couple of these guys are just on auto.
Yeah, and it doesn't put you on autopilot until the last round, which is stupid. Petition DraftKings. It used to be 2 picks, and then you were on autopilot. See, they got the little B Heels has the little circle that he's on autopilot, but didn't do it till the 6th round. All right, I will go with Seabez here.
Marshall. I'll save Pavon for you.
That's right. Yeah, he's got to be my last pick. I'm my flag plant.
Oh, Thor Bjornsson's playing. Remember he played here as amateur and was like in contention. That was kind of fun.
I gotta find him. There's Pavon. All right. That rounds it out. We're not going to sit around and watch these auto drafters take 30 seconds to get their last guy. So Scheffler, Matsuyama, Connors, Im, Scott, Horschel, and Glover for Noto. Schauffele, Harmon, Fleetwood, Lowry, Benyon, Seabez, and Pavon for me, which is 4 of the 6 guys that I put in my GPP article this week. So we're sticking to the brand. And it could have been 5 if Noto would have let me have Scheffler. But and now the draft's done because they all went on autopilot for the final round. See how fast that went. All right, Jason Day, last man standing in the draft. So, all right, that'll be it for this week. We'll catch you back here next week, same time, same place. I believe Noto is going to be out next week, so we'll have a special co-host next week as well to be determined. Until then, thanks to Steve for working hard behind the scenes and producing for us. Thanks to Noto for joining me. I'm Justin. Hope you all have a great week, and we'll catch you later, everybody.